Hi everybody, this is Duke with a quick explanation video for this assignment. A couple things have changed since we talked about the assignment in class and things I didn't realize ahead of time unfortunately, so I apologize, but this video should help you understand what you're supposed to be doing and make sure you're on the right track to get your peripherals, your sensors working on your aircraft and show me that they're working for the assignment. So this assignment basically has you configure things in Mission Planner after you've finished all the wiring. And there's the document there we looked at in class to go over those parameters and things like that. Okay. There are a couple notes I want to make you aware of in this setup, and then a couple things I'm going to show you how to submit this. Okay, so what we're doing is basically showing me through the submission to the assignment that your rangefinders are both working, that your I2C display is working. I put a note down here. I realized most of you don't have XT30 3S batteries at home to power your gimbal, so that's not really possible to do at home. We'll do that in class next time we meet. So don't worry about the gimbal for this assignment, okay, unless you do have a battery at home or a way to power your gimbal with an XT30 that's 12 volts, okay, not any higher than that. If you do have a way of doing that, you can show me in the video, same video where you show me the I2C display. But if you don't, which most of you probably don't worry about the gimbal at all for this assignment. I apologize, that was something I didn't realize ahead of time. So what you want to do here in this assignment is basically set up your drone, get it working, and then take some screenshots and give me a copy of your parameters, as well as a short video clip. So here on the table, I have the quad set up, connected to the mission planner, my battery power. Okay, so here's my little video clip of my I2C display working. So I'll see if I can get that to focus. Maybe. There we go. Okay, so that would be sufficient for the assignment video submission to say my I2C display is working. Duke, here it is. Okay, there's that part of it anyways. Okay, the other part that I'm going to show you how to set up here is going to be in Mission Planner. So we'll go back over to Mission Planner. I'm connected to my aircraft. There's no map loading right now. That's okay. But over here on the quick settings area, you notice a couple of these quick settings say rangefinder 1, rangefinder 2. Okay. Any of these quick settings can be reconfigured for any information you want pretty much. So if I can double click on this one here, it will give me a big window like this, and I can select whatever variable I want. In this case, I have sat count, so how many satellites I'm getting on the GPS selected. So just like that, you can search for rangefinder. Here's a rangefinder 1, rangefinder 2, 3, 4, 5. You can have a lot of rangefinders. We just have 1 and 2. Okay. And so once you go through the setup of this Word doc here, you'll go through and set some of these serial protocols up and rangefinder 1 type and rangefinder centimeter, all that stuff. So once you have those set up, okay, before you turn on the proximity sensor, you should see basically rangefinder 1, rangefinder 2 able to show data. Okay, in my case, I only have one of them showing data. I'll talk about why in just a second. All right, as I move my hand, let's see if we can. So I'm just going to tell you via audio. I'm moving my hand underneath the rangefinder now, so it's going down to 5 centimeters instead of 7 centimeters. If I tilt it up a little bit higher, it goes to 13 centimeters. So this one here is my downward facing rangefinder, the TFO2. Okay. The other one that's not showing up right now, you say, why is that not showing up? Okay. And this seems to be hit and miss. I don't know why it sometimes doesn't do this and sometimes does. Last spring we had kind of mixed results. And I think the intended behavior is what you're seeing here. I've already set up my second rangefinder, my TF Luna, the smaller one, as a proximity sensor. Once you turn it into a proximity sensor, it seems that it does not show data here anymore in the rangefinder category. Okay, I'm going to say that's normal. Some students last spring would still get it showing up information here, even though they had already turned it into a proximity sensor. Okay, but I'm not 100% that they had it set up correctly when they're showing that to me, and it's been a year now, so I can't remember exactly how that was working. But what I think should happen is you'll see information for both once you set up rangefinders. If you check it in between, okay, before you do this step here, okay. Once you do this step, which you don't need to pause in between, but if you do pause in between, you'll be able to see information for both of them here. If you just continue through the document and keep setting things up, okay, then what will happen will be one of your rangefinders will be a proximity sensor. Okay, to see the little radar sonar type map thing that we showed in class, there's a key or hotkey combination in Mission Planner to pull that up. Okay, so we're going to do Control F, and we'll get this window here. Let's make sure you guys can see that. Okay, good. And this one has a bunch of other like kind of add-on, you say plugins for Mission Planner, you could say. And down here it says proximity. Okay, so if I click on that, then I get my little radar type map thing. And right now I'm moving my hand closer to the drone, so that jump down, further away, further away. My hand's not very big, so I'm not sure if it's right in front of the sensor. Okay, it jumps out there. I think I'm probably not in front of the sensor anymore. But you get the idea. My proximity sensor is working on this little radar map, okay, even though it is not showing up here anymore as rangefinder 2. So for this part of the assignment, to show me they're both working, you can take a screenshot. So I just take a screenshot like this, for example, okay, and say, look, my rangefinder is working and my proximity sensor are working. They're both working. Hooray, okay? So that's showing me in the assignment that both of those things are working there. So that should help understand a little bit more of what you're supposed to submit there. Okay, oops. And we already talked about the I2C display working. Okay, so that should give me all the information that I can get, basically. We'll talk about the gimbal later in class, like I mentioned. Okay, one thing I want to make you aware of, and it's going to be kind of hard to show this per se in this video, but basically what can happen, I was helping a student the other day with this. It may not be that rangefinder 1 is the TF02 and rangefinder 2 is the TF Luna. You may have them set up such that you will have to switch these two. And the way you can kind of tell when that happens is if you're in Mission Planner, okay, and you turn your proximity sensor on, and so you have your map up and stuff like that, and it seems like it's reading basically the wrong way. It'll often give you a warning here that your proximity sensor is too close, or proximity sensor is less than 0.2 meters away. Can't arm. Okay, what's happened is your rangefinder 1 and 2 are basically swapped, which means when you give the orientation here, okay, orientation 25, orientation should be different for each one because we're telling AutoPilot that one of these is facing down towards the ground and one of these is facing away from you, kind of towards the front of the aircraft. If you switch that orientation, the proximity sensor will get set up as the one on the bottom. And let's just look at that first. Okay, so if I had these backwards, rangefinder 1 and 2, here's the front of my aircraft over here, and I configured them backwards, then Mission Planner or AutoPilot would think that this was a proximity sensor, the one that's facing down. Okay, and that doesn't really work because, you know, when you're taking off, you're way too close to the ground. It's not even going to arm. It won't even let you take off. Okay, and so if you're getting that error like pre-arm PRX less than 0.2 meters or something like that on your Mission Planner page, it probably means you configured these backwards, or you just need to swap them. I'm not going to say you did it wrong because it kind of just depends on the order of operations you do things in, but you just need to reverse those, okay? And that way the Mission Planner can determine that this is a proximity sensor, not this, okay? I believe it's smart enough to be able to tell, oh darn, it's going to start beeping at me now. Smart enough to be able to tell, so unplug that for now, that a proximity sensor should not be facing down, okay? That doesn't really make sense. You usually have them facing forward so you don't run into stuff. So if you have them misconfigured and it thinks that this one is actually facing up, it will configure it as a proximity sensor because it thinks this one is facing down. Now I know this is kind of just, it's hard to talk through it, and especially in a video, but essentially what happens is sometimes they get configured opposite, and the orientation is the one that kind of makes a difference here. It thinks this is up, it thinks this is facing towards the ground, therefore it will configure this automatically as the proximity sensor. When you turn that on, it won't configure this one as a proximity sensor because it thinks this one's in the up orientation, this one's in the down orientation, and it won't configure a downward facing rangefinder as a proximity sensor because that doesn't make sense. If that happens to you, or you're getting errors like that, you'll need to basically, like I said, swap these two categories, okay? So your rangefinder 1 type would not be 27, it would be 20, and all the other corresponding parameters will need to be swapped, okay? Oh, I forgot to grab that part on the screen grab, sorry. Okay, so if that happens to you, if these get swapped, then you'll want to go into the document, review the document here, okay, and basically switch this category with this category, okay, and that should clear up any issues you might have with it detecting the ground as too close to arm, giving you errors like that. I hope that helps. Like I said, a little bit tricky to explain over a video, but again, essentially you've put them in opposite of what they should be, or they've gotten put backwards somehow, and so it thinks that the orientation 25 and 0 are in the wrong spot, so it will configure the downward facing rangefinder as a proximity sensor, and then it will say it's too close to an item. It's the proximity sensor is too close to something. I can't take off. I'm not going to take off if I'm that close to something, and that's where the issue lies. Okay. So I hope that helps configure these items and make sure you get them, working correctly. Again, remember, we don't do anything with the gimbal, just a little video clip of the I2C display, screenshot like I showed you earlier, and a copy of your parameters after saving to file. I hope that helps. Let me know what questions you have, and we'll see you next week.